If you want these horror stories to continue, please subscribe now and don't forget to like. No one remembered when the forest was last silent. 4 experienced hunters entered it at dawn, carrying rifles, traps, and confidence earned from years of killing animals that ran, hid, and bled like animals should. The forest looked normal, but it felt alert, as if it was watching them arrive and quietly deciding what to do with them. By noon, they realized something was wrong. No birds, no insects, not even the wind. Their footsteps sounded too loud, like they didn't belong there. One hunter joked that even the animals were hiding. None of them laughed. Deep down, they all felt the same thing. This place wasn't empty. It was waiting. They found tracks near a dried riverbed, large, humanoid. Too many joints, too deliberate. These weren't animal prints. One hunter suggested turning back. Another mocked him. They followed the tracks anyway, not realizing the tracks were slowly circling them. As evening fell, the forest changed. Trees leaned closer. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. They heard breathing behind them, slow, controlled, intelligent. When they turned, there was nothing. But their radios crackled with whispers that weren't on any frequency. That night, something tested them. A shape moved just beyond the firelight, mimicking the sound of a wounded deer. One hunter fired into the darkness. The sound echoed too many times, as if the forest itself was laughing. In the morning, the bullet holes were gone. They noticed the smell first. Iron, rot, old fur. One hunter vanished while checking traps. No scream, no struggle, just absence. They found his rifle later, bent like soft metal, hanging from a tree far above human reach. Panic spread. They moved fast, careless. The forest punished noise. Branches snapped without being touched. Footsteps followed them, always matching their pace, never rushing. They realized the truth too late. They weren't hunting anymore. They were being studied. At dawn, they found a clearing filled with bones arranged carefully, almost respectfully. Human and animal mixed together. In the center stood something tall, wrong, and still. It didn't attack. It watched. Its eyes reflected recognition, not hunger. One hunter ran. The forest swallowed him instantly. No chase, no sound, just silence snapping shut. The remaining 2 dropped their weapons, knees shaking, breath breaking. The creature stepped closer, its movement smooth, practiced, like a hunter who had done this many times before. Only one hunter left the forest. He never spoke again. When doctors asked what he saw, he only wrote one sentence over and over. We taught it how to hunt. Night had fully fallen over the forest. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying scents Michael and Aaron couldn't identify. Each step on the damp earth echoed unnaturally. Something moved just beyond the firelight. Shapes that shifted too fast, vanishing whenever they tried to focus. The rifles in their hands felt suddenly too light, too fragile. "Do you feel that?" whispered Michael. Aaron nodded, swallowing hard. The feeling of eyes watching from every shadow pressed against their skulls. A rustling behind a thick oak froze them. Something heavy dragged itself across the ground, crushing twigs and leaves. Aaron raised his rifle, heart hammering, but before he could aim, the sound stopped. Silence. Then a low, guttural growl vibrated the air around them. The sound wasn't far. It was inside the forest, surrounding them, circling, Michael felt the hairs on his arms lift, a cold chill running down his spine. The hunting trip had become a trap. They moved cautiously, stepping over roots, avoiding dry leaves that could snap and betray their position. Shadows stretched unnaturally around them, forming shapes that resembled twisted animals, but none of it made sense. Eyes glimmered from the underbrush, dozens of them, small and calculating. The air smelled metallic, like blood mixed with wet soil. Michael's stomach turned. Something about the forest had changed. It was alive, and it was hungry. Suddenly, a figure leapt across the path ahead. It was humanoid, hunched, with limbs bending impossibly. It paused, staring at them with eyes that burned like molten gold. Michael fired his rifle, but the shot passed through, hitting nothing. Aaron froze. The creature tilted its head unnaturally and vanished into the shadows. Michael and Aaron were trapped in a world where the rules of nature no longer applied. They were prey. They ran. Branches whipped against their faces, and their boots sank into mud that seemed to pull at their legs. The forest itself seemed to shift. Paths they had just walked were gone, replaced by dense undergrowth. Whispers floated through the air, unintelligible yet mocking. Each shadow seemed to stretch and reach for them. Michael stumbled over a root, catching himself just in time. Something growled behind them, loud, close, promising pain. Stopping to catch their breath, they realized the moonlight had vanished. The sky above was black, yet the forest glowed faintly, illuminated by eyes that shimmered like dying embers. Movement flickered in every direction. The creatures were all around them, patient, circling. Aaron whispered, "We should have never come here." Michael didn't answer. He didn't dare speak. They both knew, without saying it, that turning back was impossible. A low rumble shook the forest floor. Trees bent, as if reacting to some massive presence moving in the distance. Michael felt the earth vibrate under his boots. The whispers grew louder, echoing from every direction. Shapes lunged from behind trees, some small, quick, others towering twisted forms. Bullets no longer mattered. Every step forward was a gamble. Every breath was a risk. The forest had become sentient, and it wanted them. They reached a clearing, barely visible through the thicket. In the center stood an ancient stone structure, crumbling, yet formidable. Something about it radiated malice, drawing their attention. Shapes swarmed around the edges of the clearing, but the structure was silent, still. Michael felt a strange compulsion to approach it. Aaron grabbed his arm, shaking. Don't go closer." But something beyond fear and logic pulled them forward, as if the forest itself had a plan. Inside the structure, the air was suffocating, heavy with an unseen force. Shadows crawled along the walls, whispering secrets and fears into their minds. Shapes moved in the corners of their vision, and for a moment, Michael thought he saw faces of people who had vanished long ago. Hunters, travelers, victims. Aaron's hands trembled as he aimed his rifle at nothing, a futile attempt at protection. The forest's hunger pressed against them, almost tangible. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. The creatures froze at the threshold of the structure, staring. Michael realized they weren't attacking. They were waiting for something inside the stone to awaken. A chill wind blew through the opening, carrying a faint scent of decay and old blood. The air was alive, pulsing with anticipation. Michael and Aaron exchanged a terrified glance. They understood now. The forest had chosen its own hunters, and they were not leaving alive. The stone structure began to breathe. Cracks spread across its surface like veins under skin, and a deep sound rose from within, slow, patient, ancient. Caleb felt his legs give way as memories flooded his mind. Every animal he had hunted, every life taken, every scream he had ignored. The forest was not punishing them for entering. It was judging them. From the darkness inside the stone, something vast shifted, unseen but undeniable. The creatures in the forest lowered their heads as if in respect. Aaron tried to scream, but the sound never left his throat. Roots burst from the ground, wrapping gently, lovingly around their bodies, pulling them into the earth. By morning, the forest was silent again. No footprints, no weapons. Only two new trees stood near the old stone, their branches shaped like raised arms. Hunters still enter this forest sometimes, but none of them ever hunt again. The end.